All right, everyone. So I'm going to do a recap here, red day recap here to start the week on Monday. I don't really like starting a week with a red day, but that is the case today. And you can see my P&L. I'm red on 3 out of the 4 stocks I traded. So today was one of those days where I was really never able to get in the driver's seat. I actually was never green today. I was never green. First trade was on MLGO. All right, so let's go back to the very beginning of the day and break down my trades. Okay, so this morning I pulled up the scans pretty early, and I saw that there really wasn't much on the scans that looked that great. So 7 a.m., nothing, 7:30, nothing. But by 8 a.m., I was sitting down, looking to see if there was anything that wanted to move. So MLGO was the first one that I traded, and what ended up happening on this, so MLGO had news this morning, but it had a move that began a couple days ago. And it was choppy a couple days ago. It really was. Friday. It wasn't that clean. But, it ended up pushing a little higher here after hours on Friday, pre-market. And mostly is pulling back. But where I took a trade on this morning was, let's see, it was a little earlier than that. Let's see, go back to here. So it's right about here. We got this squeeze through VWAP from 590 all the way up to 690. And I took my first trade right here. But I got only a partial fill on that first trade. So I punched it for 5,000 shares, and I filled 561 shares. Right? So that's super annoying. So it ends up going up here, but so I guess actually I might have been green on that first trade. But not by a lot. So then it ends up squeezing up here, and on this little micro pullback, I added 2,500 shares at 694. I'm thinking this is a micro pullback, and we're going to pop over 7. It drops here down to 681, and instead of selling, I kind of got stubborn. I was like, you know what? This has just made a big move. It's probably going to be a 1-minute micro pullback. I'm going to add on the pullback. So I added more shares at 680, and then I added more at 660 or 670, and then it drops all the way down here to a low of, let's see, what was this? Like 655, 665, and I added again. So now I've brought my cost basis down a little bit. It pops up on this candle, and I'm like, okay, good. I'm looking for that curl back over 7, and then right here it just flushes hard, and I stopped out. And on that trade, I lost $3,000. So I was like, golly, not good. First trade of the day, I've already kind of broken my rules. I got stubborn. I didn't cut the loss quickly enough. I should have just bailed, right? I should have just sold this position like right here for a $500, $400 loss. Like, who cares? But instead, I added, and then nasty rejection. It ends up selling off and coming back up, and I got back in right here. And the reason I got back in there was because the way I looked at this was that we had some descending resistance right here, and it was breaking above it. See how this is above that level right there? So I was like, this looks good. So I added back here, and it goes up to 80, and then it dumps again down to 40. I stop out again. Well, then it ends up going up to 710, but I didn't want to get back in it. So I dug myself a hole today and went down $3,989 on MLGO. So that's how I started my morning. Those are my first 3 trades. Okay, so max loss is 5,000. The problem is, if the market's been cold, and I haven't been hitting $5,000 green days, so I really shouldn't take a $5,000 loss, to be honest. But that 5,000 is my daily goal. 5,000 is my max loss, so that just is what it is. And I could maybe consider adjusting that during a colder market, but anyways, wasn't doing that in the middle of the trading session today. So So first trades on MLGO, not great. And then CYTO, and then I didn't take another trade for almost an hour. And then CYTO pops up, and initially I was like, I don't know. It's a little cheaper, around $2 here. I'm not sure if this thing's even gonna hold up. We might get a round trip. We just haven't been seeing a lot of really good moves. So I wasn't sure it was gonna work. But I watched it hit the scan here, hits a high of 220, and I was like, okay, maybe I could buy this over 220. It pulls back, it pops up there, pulls back, and I almost got in right here, but I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. It ends up popping up to 240, pulling back, and then I got in right here as it broke over 238. So I got in at 238, and it squeezes, pretty nicely here up to 270. But I think I only made like $1,300 on that trade. Now, look, not bad, but not huge. It pulls back. I add back for the break to 75. It goes up to 80, 85. But you can see already it's like kind of like struggling here. Finally, it pushes through 3, but it wasn't easy. So up at the peak here, I was up maybe like 2,500 on this, and you can see I'm up 2,400 on it right now. But then I added right here. I added back my full position at 305, thinking it was going to rip back up, and then it, did this jackknife here, and I gave back 1,200. Gave back half of what I had just made. I then proceeded to spend the next, 30 minutes buying dips and just trading it really actively through this whole range. We had a major area here of resistance at 3, but supported about 279. The problem was it's a relatively small range, and I just wasn't able to make good money on it. The range just was too small. And so what ended up happening was I was just churning commissions. I was churning a lot of commissions. Getting in, getting out, getting in, getting out. Finally, it pulls away. And so on this move here, I was able to lock up, another $1,200 of profit to up 2,400 on the day. And then at the opening bell, traded 2 stocks, XTLB. First trade was green on it. I got in at 3. Actually got in right here at 345. It hits or 340. It hits a high 347. It pulls back. Then it comes back up. I missed this trade, but I got in like 380 here. Only made a couple hundred on it, and then I added back a little too high up here, and it flushes down. So I'm red on XTLB, as you can see, despite it making a decent move. And then CZOO, this one popped up on the scanner, and I kind of jumped on it with small size, just because it's a recent momentum stock. So I was like, maybe I'll see what this can do. But anyways, small loss on that. So at that point, I was like, all right, the bell has rung. I've taken 2 losses. I think let's see. So I gave back about 1,100 on that. So I was down about 1,500 on the day, which was starting to, look in, like I was making a little bit of a recovery, but then starting to fall back down. If I'm going to be honest, after I factor in all the commissions from these trades, CYTO, unfortunately, the broker that I use, I pay a pretty steep commission for every trade I take. So it's not a commission on a per trade basis, but it's the ECN fee that I pay to the exchange. So if I buy 100,000 shares, just for instance, I'm going to pay a $400 ECN fee. $400, right? So, I could easily have, over all the trades I took on this, I could easily have $600 in commissions. And now I'm kind of getting back towards that, minus 3,900 level that I was at after you factor in the fees and commissions. So I'll say, though, that there's a bit of a sense of like I did soften the loss a little bit here today. I hit this low point, recovered off of it. Not a lot, but a little bit. But, once the fees and commissions are said and done, I don't know if it's really fully worth it. So anyways, kind of just a little bit annoying here with this price action today. But I think, the long story short is that we're still in a relatively cold market. We had a really hot market for a stretch there, but now it's cooled off a little bit. So, until we see something that really goes crazy, I have to set my expectations lower. And for some reason today, I was a little too aggressive from the very beginning, and then that put me kind of up against the ropes. So, you got to manage your risk. I I kept the risk in check today, but unfortunately lost a little more than I would have liked to on that first trade. So that's the beginning of the week here for me. But I've just got to stay disciplined. Coming back tomorrow, stay focused, try to take good quality setups, not overstay my welcome. And it's kind of funny because I must have taken like a dozen trades on CYTO and only made 2,400. And then there could be another day where we have a stock that pops up and I'll trade, I'll take one trade and make 2,500. So some days it just feels like the returns are easier to capture than others. And today was not a day where it was really easy. I overstayed my welcome a little bit, but I would say that today is a successful red day in the sense that it's not at my max loss. Things didn't spiral out of control. It's a red day, but I'm a trader. I'm going to have red days like every 4 or 5 days. I mean, realistically, 4 times a month, I figure a red day, once a week. So I just have to be good at that, at having the red days. Successful red days are days where you follow your rules for the most part. You walk away before the loss gets too big. You recognize when the writing is on the wall that this isn't a day to push it. And you show some self-restraint. So this is a successful red day. And I'll leave it at that. All right, so I hope you guys have a great day for those of you who are still trading, and I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. And I'll remind you, as always, that trading is risky. Our results aren't typical, so manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you